Thank you, Acting President. I think today is a very good day to speak about the inquiry, the report into a legislative spent conviction scheme, a controlled disclosure of criminal record information framework for Victoria. Because today the government introduced a bill for spent convictions. And this is a very memorable day because it's a day that we have been waiting for decades. In fact, in 1987, the Australian Law Reform Commission recommended that we introduce a scheme to protect the disclosure of historical criminal records. And 15, 20 years ago, nearly every state in Australia adopted a spent conviction scheme, except Victoria. Now, I know Victoria wanted to, but it just could never get the political motivation to do it. So today is a good day. The legislation reflects, and I'm very pleased, and I think this is the great work that committees do, because the legislation reflects the recommendations made by this report. And the recommendations in this report, the foundations of those recommendations are from the stories we heard from people who were affected by not having a spent conviction scheme in Victoria. Now, for many, the term spent conviction is actually a difficult term. It's hard to define. And I think this is what the committee found. In fact, the committee thought that this should actually be better classified and better described as a controlled disclosure of criminal record information, because that's what it is. A spent conviction doesn't mean that your conviction and your criminal past is erased. It means that you can control who that past is disclosed to. And post-COVID, when we are seeing incredibly high levels of unemployment, when we are going to be seeing people seeking jobs everywhere, this is going to be more important than ever. I mean, just in 2017, there was 700,000 police checks in Victoria. So it was 700,000 people who had to declare possibly a mistake they made in their past to a prospective employer. And while you shouldn't judge people on, mistakes they made in their youth, people are judged on those. And the report and the inquiry found that it was one of the biggest barriers to employment. And not only that, we heard from people who wanted to work for the dole to improve their prospects of employment. But their mistakes that they made in the past that left them with a criminal record excluded them from even doing volunteer work, from even doing things like kinship, from helping foster a child from their own families. We know that we've made it harder to get jobs. So we know today is a great day. Today is a day that many of those people know that they can now move on, that they can now have a future. And I look at some of them, I'd like to really recognise some of the people that helped us, and certainly Windamara Aboriginal Corporation, who brought us down, who invited us onto country to talk about the stories. To Uncle Wenzel Carter, who was part of the Wodungan program that really looked at how we can reduce recidivism in our Aboriginal community, how we can reduce the overrepresentation in our criminal justice system of Aboriginal people. And he said, it's a life sentence after the sentence has been served. And that is the case currently in Victoria, but hopefully not for long, hopefully not for long. And I'll leave the last quote to Uncle Larry Walsh, a Tanungaran elder, who said, it's hard to live a life where everyone has respect and admiration for you, and then all of a sudden, something you did as a teenager is being held against you. So today, for Uncle Larry Walsh, I'm pleased to say that this is about to change.